Hello my gorgeous makeup loving friends, welcome back to our second Swatching Sunday. I mean, who thought we'd have 2 weeks in a row where I was doing a double entry? Definitely not me, but I kind of said it, so then it was like, oh, we kind of have to go with it. Anyways, today what we're looking at is the Gloss Gods Molten Metals palette. Now this came out as part of their advent calendar, but it is also available on its own or as part of the collection overall. This is what the palette looks like. It's fairly standard, like it's not like going to change your life. Very little things actually are. But today's video is looking at this palette across lots of different lighting, and I think that's quite helpful when you're looking at a more metallic formula to kind of see, well, how much of a sheen is this actually going to give me? So that's what today is. However, I do have to say a few things. I did buy this with my own money. It wasn't gifted to me by the brand. However, I am an affiliate with the brand. I do have a code. It gets you money off, but it also earns me a commission. However, at the moment you can purchase this, and I don't think you necessarily need a code to take more money off. I don't think it's stackable. So, you know, make your own decisions there. But I do feel it's always important to point out when I am associated with the brand, etc. But hey, you can watch the swatches yourself and see whether or not they kind of appeal to you. That's the general jam here. But if you want to see what this palette looks like across lots of different lighting, then this is the video for you. Do please keep on watching. The stencil is on. We have the palette here. I think I'm going to go at it row by row so that I can have the matching metallics next to their corresponding mattes. This is quite a small palette. It's not going to take us a lot of time, hence why I'm doing 2 swatching Sundays in one day. Isn't that a bit strange? Anyways, let's just get straight into it. So we have our first 4 shades. I will say that this shade here, Brass, there's a little bit more kind of crumbliness with that, so I would probably think about smoothing that out before I would apply it onto the lid. The mattes feel exactly the same as their previous mattes, so there's been no kind of change in formula. So if you've liked their mattes before, keep in mind that's how it is. Now that's silver. I mean, granted, silvers like this, you see them quite a bit, but that is properly like liquidy looking, isn't it? Or is that, maybe that's just me. I feel like that looks really liquid. Now this one, not as much. Like I said, there's a little bit more kind of crumbliness to that. But I think if you work it in to the eyelid, etc., you'll get the look that you're looking for. So we have platinum. There's satin, brass. So a little bit of crumbliness there, but do you see how you can smooth it out? And matte. As per usual, I will be building these up to full opacity. I already have glitter all over myself, so I have swatched this shade a couple of times, and oh my god, every single time I swatch it, because I just do this, I take out palettes and just swatch them for myself, because this is my stuff. I can do what I like, but this is ridiculous. I don't know what is in this, but it's fabulous. This feels nice and smooth, so it's kind of similar in formula to this one. Again, mattes feel the same, no major variation there. So we have the shade Copper. I mean, there are no words. That is stunning. I know I sound very unwell, but I would actually buy the palette for that shade alone. It's so interesting. Now here's where you see that their mattes very, very buildable, which is my personal preference, but obviously I will be building it up. Then by the way, that's antiqued. We have bronze. Oh, that's quite nice. And we have brushed. My God, I am covered in glitter at this stage. And these are our last 2 shades. I do love that the mattes correspond with the metallics here. It's just kind of interesting. Just like different textures, you know? And this is the shade Steel, and we have the shade Polished. And that's it, that's the whole palette swatched. Let's remove the stencil. Now, when I look at this palette, I kind of feel like this is their most kind of commercial launch. And I say this with love. It reminds me a little bit of like Morphe. And I don't mean that as a dig, because Morphe, obviously, they were very, very popular. They had a lot of popularity behind them. And this kind of feels like an augmented version of that. You know, like not a safe palette, but a palette that a lot of people would enjoy. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that as like a bad thing, but I can kind of see it. This was very, very smart as a release because it is just kind of universal, you know? People generally tend to like metallics. Those are pretty good mattes. Yeah, I mean, it looks fabulous. You guys know the general drill at the moment right now. I have a ring light at a 90-degree angle and I have 2 box lights, but I am going to drown this out further by adding in an additional light. And the Lord said, let there be light. And even with all of that light, isn't it ridiculous? You're still seeing the shine of the metallics. Like normally when I have lights on to this extent, you're like, I can kind of see a shimmer, but it's nothing major. But here, I'm still seeing it, which is bonkers. Like they are properly molten metal. The mattes, as I said before, they do take a little bit of building up. That's my personal preference. I like their matte formula. This is kind of the first time that they've done a palette that doesn't have what we would call like special formulas. Like metallics have been around for a really, really long time, but it's all about like, how good is that metallic? Is it really molten? Is it really liquid looking? And I feel like looking at this, they've done this quite well. Now we'll see this a little bit more when we start to take out the lights, and that's what we're going to do next. And now we just have 1 ring light at a 90-degree angle, and here you're already seeing, look at that metallic shimmer on that. Now let's not forget about those mattes. I love that the mattes correspond, and like I could just use that as a 5-pan matte and it'd be perfect. You know, you could get your everyday looks. Like I said, I feel this is a much more commercial launch for them than they've done before. And I think this is smart because this is them looking to expand. And I could see a lot of people looking at this and kind of going, yeah, this is going to be a really safe gift for people. Because like, you're going to get use out of this. Whatever your makeup preferences are, you'd get use out of this. Like, you just would. Like, those are good shades to have. Or maybe it's just me. I will say that copper shade, that kind of metallic in the middle, I am full on obsessed with that. I just think it's the best thing ever. I really find it interesting. But we're going to get rid of all of the lights now and just have it so I have a torchlight on my phone. And oh my God, this is where you really start to see. I mean, look at that. I don't even need to explain these things to you. You have your own eyeballs. You see what the story is here. That is so beautiful. And like I said, these are kind of shades that most people will wear at some point. Like even if you love colourful makeup like I do, like you can integrate those shades into a colourful look. You're not confined to this palette. Nobody is saying, oh my God, you can only use this palette. For the very colourful makeup users, you can integrate this with other things. But for the people who are more into neutrals, this is your perfect one and done. Obviously, you don't need it though. Let's be real. Let's not get ourselves into the point of view of being like, oh my God, I must purchase this. I kind of feel like they didn't need to come out with the pigments when this is like the level of sparkle that we're talking about. Let's move around the torch a little bit further. Just want to try and capture it. Oh, yeah, that is nice, isn't it? Could just be me. I love twinkly things. That sounds wrong, but you know what I mean. Anyways, let's capture this on the camera phone because there's always slight variations there as well. Okay, even here, I just want to show you the palette. You can, oh, like, look at that shade. Look at it. Sorry, I'm obsessed with that. If they did that as a single, although they don't do singles, but if they did, that would be one worth getting. So you can see really high level of metallic shine there. Very, very high level. I will also say, shout out to my friend Demi, because she got married recently and she was like saying, oh my God, of course they've come out with a palette where there's a shade that I have been looking at and wanted to have for my wedding, which I actually agree with. I can see this being a really interesting sort of a bridal palette. A lot of versatility with this. Ooh. And also, you know, Cogorgicus, which is Irish. Congratulations, Demi, on your nuptials. Hurrah! But now back to shimmers, because we can only talk about your marriage for so long. But look at that. And if I zoom you in, high level of sparkles. Doesn't this feel Christmassy? Get your cocoa. Which is funny, like that a neutral palette feels quite Christmassy. Do you know what? I think it's that copper shade. Sorry, I keep coming back to that. That is what's making me feel very Christmassy. Maybe it's just me. Anyways, it does look very, very interesting in this light. I'm going to have to change things ever so slightly because it is so dark outside that I had to put on a main light. But I'm showing it to you on my camera or camera phone. So again, more context, more information to help you make some informed choices. Sparkle, sparkle. So actually this is quite helpful that we're seeing that this is quite a light saturated environment and we're still getting a lot of metallic-y shimmer in here. I'm hoping that's helpful. As far as I know, this is a permanent item. I don't think this is like limited. I don't think they should make this limited anyway. It's quite a smart little launch. Let us cling to the last glowing embers of daylight. So I've turned off the lights behind me because otherwise it was kind of giving you a strange shadow. Again, I feel like this is giving us a little bit of extra context here. So I'm sitting at the window, minding my own business. It's very dreary and rainy outside. So do you know what? Sorry, this is like my second Twilight reference. You'd swear I liked Twilight. Not really that into Twilight. Anyways, not the point. This feels very much like a Forks Washington sort of a palette. Sorry, that's the last time I sing. I say that, but I don't mean it. It will happen again. But even in this light, you are getting good metallics. So if you're really wanting to make sure that the shimmers that you have are translating in everyday sort of reality outside of a studio, etc., this is probably the palette for you. Just bear that in mind. And here we are in the last little bits of daylight that we have here in the west of Ireland. I am getting rained on. The things that I do for you guys, the things that I do. Let us zoom in, which is in no way helpful. And by... Well, that's very helpful. You all right? I'm Mimi? That's Cece. Go on, in you pop. It's been a while since we had actually a cat appearance. Take her little meow to mean whatever you think it means. I assume it's a meow of approval. I'll ask her later and I'll let you know in the outro. It'd be helpful if you focused. There we go. Yeah. Jesus. I definitely need a new camera at some point because this one is a bit gammy. But you can see good level of metallic reflectivity, if that's the word. We'll obviously look at this now on the phone. There we go. So we're getting, again, slightly different sort of an impression of the palette here via the camera. I'm very sorry about the wind noises. It probably bothers me more than it bothers you, but there you go. Still a good level of reflect there. Yeah, I mean, metallics, are they going to change your life? No, they're not. And you probably have a few in your collection. Think mindfully. You may not need this. But if it speaks to you, you know, I'm not going to judge. It's literally none of my business. But yeah, that's what it looks like. And that, my gorgeous friends, is the Molten Metals palette. Okay, let's just kind of like briefly talk about it. I haven't actually used this yet, so obviously limited as to what I can say here. Is this like a wow palette? Kind of depends on what your definition of wow is. If your definition of wow is, you know, really interesting shifts of colours, duochromas, etc., then no, it's not a wow palette, right? And this is all very subjective. If, however, your definition of wow is very consistent formulas, knowing what it is that you can expect from a brand, then I do feel that this does very much hit that particular criteria. I think it's quite nice. I have yet to use it though. I am going to try and use it over the next day or two, do a video on it. Again, a singular use doesn't give you much of a review. I feel like this is a very safe sort of installment for them, but they don't really have much like that. They only have like a handful of kind of more neutral palettes, and even the neutral palettes have more duochrome shades in this. This feels like it's a bit more accessible to the general public. So yeah, I mean, I have to say, and I'm going to say it again, I've said it many a time in the video, but my goodness, that shade, oh my God, I don't, like, what is it? It's nuts. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. But my gorgeous friends, let me know what you guys think, because I know a few of you might have picked up the advent calendar. Have you had a chance to play with it? What have you thought of it? Would you have preferred something different? Do you like the general colour story of this? I personally think it's quite nice. You know, I think it's quite safe, but it makes sense from a business point of view. But my gorgeous friends, that is it. Thank you so much for watching. Do please like, comment and subscribe, all that general jazz, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.